All right, so we're going to talk about unit rates and proportional relationships. This is going to be kind of a quick unit because you talked about this heavily in 7th grade. Hopefully you remember that. And it's mostly just finding the slope. So another word for unit rate is the slope, okay? And technically a unit rate is a rate with a denominator of 1. So it's like a fancy slope, I guess. An example that you're probably common with for a unit rate is miles per hour, like driving in the car. So that means an unknown amount of miles per hour. So like a typical speed limit on the highway, let's say, is 55. So that's saying in an hour, you'll travel 55 miles, okay? So again, it's just a denominator of 1. So pretty much you're comparing two things and then simplifying the fraction is really what that means. So we want to find the unit rate. And we're going to give you a little, when we're talking about graphs, it's helpful to remember that it's y over x. So slope is your y values over your x values, right? So we're going to find, I'm just going to use these two numbers because they're even, so I don't have to do any math. So my y is 12, and that label is miles. So I'm going to go 12 miles over 10 hours is my x. So now this is just a rate, and a unit rate we need to simplify. So in your calculator, do 12 divided by 10. So 12 divided by 10 gives me 1.2. And I'm going to abbreviate miles per hour. Okay. So it's not enough to just tell me 1.2, especially when the directions say include the units. Okay. So make sure you're including the units, telling me what they mean. So again, we have miles and hours. A table generally works that this is X and this is Y. And again, we just did miles per hour over here. So it would be intuitive to do that over here. You can choose any of these numbers in the table. I generally choose the smaller numbers because I'm smaller the better. I could probably do it in my head then. And it's your Y value, your 90 miles over your 2 hours. Simplify that. So what's 90 divided by 2? That's 45 miles per hour. And then the last one is money in hours. So this is like thinking about a job. You, for an 8-hour workday, you make $124. So generally, I say money over everything is the motto when we're talking about unit rates. So that's, not my life motto, but just a motto to use when we're talking about unit rates, money over everything. So we want to put the $124 over the 8 hours and simplify that. So do 124 divided by 8. And when you do that, you should get 15.5, right? But that's technically our money. So money is 2 decimal places. So you'll have to add your 0 at the end to make it 50. So it's $15.50 per hour. So pretty much just make sure you have the label, and yeah. So we want to find the slope and the y-intercept here. So the slope, remember, is the unit rate. Is the unit rate. So down here, when it asks for the unit rate, it really means slope. Okay. So we want to find the slope of this graph. What I would do is I would just look for a spot that we could easily see. There's no easy-ish one, so we're going to go here. Between 8 and 16, half of that is 12. And between 8, 12, and 16, this number is really 14 then. Okay, so I know that was kind of confusing, but we're trying to find in between stuff. Yeah. So The graph below shows the diameter of a tree grows based on the number of years. So again, let me just zoom in a little bit more. I know it's a little blurry, but we're using these numbers here. We're saying that this number is 12 because it's right in the middle of 8 and 16. And then in the middle of 12 and 16, which is where this dot goes to, that's actually 14. Okay, so my unit rate is 14 over 10. And we want to simplify that. So what's 14 divided by 10? 14 divided by 10 is going to be 1.4. So think about, what does 1.4 mean in reference to this problem? What does it mean in reference to this problem? So what it means is the tree grows at a rate of 1.4 inches per year in the diameter. Or I probably should have said the diameter of a tree grows at the diameter. There we go. That's a better sentence. Okay, so the diameter of a tree grows at a rate of 1.4 inches per year, right? Because that's what that unit rate means. It's inches, this diameter up here, inches per year. And then where's the y-intercept at? Where does this graph cross the y-axis? Well, it crosses the y-axis right here. And that's in between 8 and 12. So in between 8 and 12 would be 10. So my diameter is then, well, my y-intercept is 10. So what does that mean? Well, at 0 years, it's 10. So that means the tree started, the tree's diameter started at a width, width of 10 inches. Doing all sorts of misspelling right now, sorry. The tree's diameter started at a width of 10 inches, right? Because that's the 10 and it's inches for the diameter. All right. I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to have you do C on your own. So the equation shows the relationship between the cost of a cellular plan based upon the number of gigabytes used. So we have C equals 10G plus 30. So what I'm going to do is rewrite that. And I'm going to rewrite it as Y equals 10X plus 30. And we want to find the slope and the y-intercept. Do you remember what letter slope is? Slope is M, and your y-intercept is B. So think about which one's M and which one's B in this equation. Hopefully you're saying the 10 is your M and the 30 is your B. So now we're going to take those numbers. So we just said my slope was 10. So what does that mean for the problem? Well, it's based upon the number of gigabytes used. It's based upon the number of gigabytes used. So that's what that G stands for, or this X, the gigabytes used. So that means it's $10 for each gigabyte used. Okay. And then our B is our starting point. So our B is 30. I'm going to put 30 down here. 30. What does that mean? That means that's our base price of the plan. No matter how many gigabytes used, we are being charged $30. So if I use 0 gigabytes that month, say I broke my phone and I didn't use, not broke my phone, but say I'm out in the wild and I'm not using any gigabytes, right? You're still being charged $30 just to have that phone plan. All right, I want you to try letter C. So pause and try letter C for me now. Okay, so letter C is the number of adults compared to the cost of tickets. So it should be money over everything. So it's any of those you choose, you would get 75 over 1. So that's automatically our unit rate. What that means is that each ticket costs $75 over in adults. Okay, then our next question is our unit rate. I mean our y-intercept. That's our starting value. Starting value would be if we have 0 adults. So if we have 0 adults, how much would we pay in ticket price? Well, it's not on the table, but if we didn't buy any tickets because there's no adults coming, it's going to be $0, right? So our y-intercept is 0. What that means is 0 tickets cost $0. So in this case, there's no starting fee. Like sometimes when you go somewhere, let's say Top Golf. I don't know. I don't think this is true, but let's say a Top Golf. You go, even if you don't play, there's still like an entrance fee to get in. So that's kind of what we're saying, that in this case, there's no entrance fee because there's 0 tickets. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let me know if you have any questions.